Let's talk about The Sandman, Netflix's latest dark fantasy series, based upon the DC comic series written by Neil Gaiman between 1989 and 1993. Fans of The Sandman have been crying for a live-action adaptation for 3 decades. It's been a long wait, but how does season 1 of The Sandman hold up? Well, for this honest review, I'm not going to compare it too much to the comic series. I'm going to approach it for what it is as a self-contained series. To do so, I'm going to discuss key plot details, as well as offering my own personal thoughts and feelings, which means there will be spoilers ahead. So, who is the Sandman? He is Morpheus, dream of the endless, most commonly referred to as Dream. He is the lord of the dreaming, the realm which humanity delves into when they dream, as well as being in charge of creating both dreams and nightmares. Humanity resides within the waking world, a place where the endless are able to roam while being in charge of their own realms. The endless are a mystical family of entities, all with different functions which serve humanity, including Dream's siblings Death, Desire, and Despair, who we see in the show, Destiny, who is only mentioned, and also Destruction and Delirium, originally known as Delight, who I don't recall were ever mentioned here. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. The world and mythology of the Sandman bear some similarities to American gods. Of course, both were created by Neil Gaiman, but they both put spins on ancient mythological deity-like figures. However, I think American Gods is often guilty of disappearing into a black hole of pretentiousness, while here the Sandman's world and characters are all brilliantly realised. We get Cain and Abel, Lucifer Morningstar, Death, all well-known conceptual beings from the real world that have been given a dark fantasy twist to them. And I think the casting to everyone was great. I'm well aware that the announcements caught quite a bit of flack with the casting being labelled as woke. There are so many fantastic performances here, with the main roles and some smaller roles being well executed. For smaller roles, Charles Dance and Stephen Fry were at their usual high quality. Jenna Coleman as Joanna Constantine was a lot of fun, despite her accent being at a nearly Billy Butcher level of craziness. Ferdinand Kingsley, the son of Ben Kingsley, was brilliant as Robert Gadling. More on him later. And even though we only saw a little bit of Desire, Mason Alexander Park chewed the scenery and looks like they are going to be a captivating performer in further series. So, on to the main characters. I absolutely loved Tom Sturridge as Dream. Visually, he's got a kind of Robert Smith vibe, and his voice is always soothing and calming, which fits his dreamlike qualities. It's almost like he's always very distant and sleepy, again going with his character's identity. There's a very fine line with Dream here, where the performance needs to be understated enough to work, but it's so tough finding that balance between minimal acting to where it comes off as lazy, and acting enough so that it's still great acting without going too far and missing the point. Sturridge, however, finds that balance, and I was drawn to him in every scene. Episode 1's events have a knock-on effect for the rest of the show, where Dance's character, a human occultist named Roderick Burgess, attempts to summon and trap Death in a ritual, but summons Dream by accident. However, Dream is still kept encased for over a century, and by the time he gets out, the dreaming has took a turn for the worse, with his right-hand assistant Lucienne covering for him, and many of his dreams and nightmares have run amok due to becoming masterless. One of the escaped nightmares is Corinthian, played by Boyd Holbrook. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Boyd Holbrook, but I feel like he was a little typecast here based on his performance in Logan, because that's pretty much what the character is here. Charmingly threatening with some wit and downplayed intensity. Like, that's fine, but Corinthian doesn't really get up to an awful lot other than walk around and talk to people in the same endearing tone. And then when he finally confronts Dream in the finale, they again just talk, and then Dream reduces him to a tiny skull in an instant. It felt rather anticlimactic, and I didn't feel Corinthian's distaste towards Dream ever led anywhere meaningful. To talk about my star of the show here, I'm going to quickly contextualize the season 1 structure. Effectively, episodes 1 to 5 are their own story, episode 6 is an interlude episode, and then episodes 7 to 10 are also their own story. With 1 to 5, once Dream escapes his imprisonment, he's had his tools taken from him, so he's at his weakest. These include a bag of sand, a helm, and a ruby. This chunk of episodes is pretty much fetch questing for those tools to restore Dream's power, with each tool having a dedicated episode. The bag of sand is the Constantine episode, the helm is the Lucifer in Hell episode, with their wonderfully executed transformation battle. Both of those episodes are fun ones, but now it's time to talk about the possessor of the ruby. John Dee, the son of Roderick Burgess, is played here by David Thewlis, who at this point, I'm just gonna say, is one of the most underrated actors of our time. Every single scene he's in, he captures your your focus. I was constantly besotted by his acting ability here, and was my season 1 highlight. Dream's ruby has the power to make the user see dreams and bring them to life, but John has been in possession of it for so long he's been able to modify it so that he can manipulate people's perception, memory, and reshape their realities. After some superbly tense scenes where he is driven to the ruby by a helpful woman named Rosemary, everything culminates with one of my favourite episodes, 24/7. The 5th episode of the series, this one plays out for the most part as a bottle episode that to me feels like they've slapped a Rod Serling Twilight Zone in the middle of the series. John's moral compass points towards honesty being vital and lies being despicable, and so in 24/7 he enters a diner where he manipulates 6 people: a gay chef, a waitress striving for more, a married couple on the edge, an interviewee for the company ran by the couple, and a gay woman going through some relationship issues. I never anticipated the direction of 24/7, but they took a deep dive into all 6 of these characters. We learn about their dreams and aspirations, as well as their struggles and hatreds, and John sits quietly in the corner, using the ruby to gradually remove everyone's ability to lie, with chaotic consequences. 24/7 was a masterpiece of television to me, incredibly well written and acted, with Thewlis conjuring an inner maniac to bring the John Dee character to life in an astounding manner. The following episode is already widely viewed as the fan favourite here. The Sound of Her Wings is an astonishing tale of humanity's relationship with death. The episode's first half has Dream meeting with his sister, Death, and it's a series of walking and talking. They visit multiple people of all ages, and Death greets them with a caring smile before taking them, as natural as being born. The concentrated beauty of this episode I can't credit enough. Lots of shows like this try to put a positive spin on death, often coming across as a bit preachy, but here it might be the best example I've ever seen with the inevitable yet natural function of death. It led to being hit right in the feels when death takes not only a sweet old man, but a baby. Christ, the tears were very hard to fight back against here. The script was a masterwork. The dialogue and general chemistry between Sturridge and Kirby Howell-Baptiste were fabulous. I loved this, but the episode only got better when a challenge is posed between the two, when a mortal man who claims he will live forever has his wish granted, and he and Dream meet in the same tavern every 100 years so Dream can learn what it's actually like to be immortal from the human perspective. This is where Robert Gadling comes in. The setup here is again very Twilight Zone. Here you go, here's immortality, meet me once a century and tell me how you feel, which of course has positive and negative consequences. I adored this. Just 2 people chatting in a pub about living forever. Is it actually worth it or not? Is death actually something an immortal person would eventually dream of? The answer is never given here really, and I'm certain it's not the last we'll see of Gadling, but this was a cracking episode to separate the first and second chunks of the season. Sadly, the second chunk was a bit of a slog to get through. I didn't personally find the Rose Walker story all that interesting at all, and that it was a big downstep from the first half. Here, a young woman is actually a vortex, something which nobody understands and cannot be created, they just happen. The vortex has the ability of going volatile and causing the walls between realms to collapse, which could cause the end of the waking world and the dreaming. It just wasn't all that exciting to me, this. I didn't care all that much for Rose, Unity Kincaid, Ken and Barbie. That entire group of characters was a bit of a backward step from how grandiose the preceding episodes were. The show definitely peaked with episode 6, and then it was downhill from there. Still somewhat enjoyable, but also largely quite forgettable. Narratively, season 1 was rather lopsided, but for a first season, and for just how good that first half dozen episodes were, I'll take it. Tell you what as well, the production quality here was insane. They've clearly had enough faith in the writing to throw shed loads of money at it, and I think it's best they waited this long to adapt the Sandman, because now production quality is through the roof and has enabled the richness of its world to be brought to life convincingly. Everything from the physical effects to the CGI to the costume department, the set design, the lighting, the cinematography, it's gothic horror imagery blended with fantasy realms, and it takes place in several time periods. It looked and felt amazing and will only get better down the line, which I'm very much looking forward to, especially with Lucifer's plans of infuriating God and expanding hell at the wish of Azazel. So that's my overall honest review of Season 1 of The Sandman. Whether you're an OG comic reader or you've just discovered The Sandman for the first time, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Connor from Unleash the Ghouls, and we shall see you once again when I grab Dream's Ruby and cast away my lies for another honest review. Cheers out!